What's up? What's up? We're in the building. Frank Bay here to drop a, little decent show. Again, you know what, man? When you do this, it's kind of, you know, difficult in the sense that not a lot really goes on in the sport. Right now we have some decent fights, but nothing really to salivate or big money fights where the world is watching. Like we just seen with Joshua the boy. But let's get to the homies. Alonzo, amazing. Shout out. He's already hit the like. Yeah, man. If you hop in, hit the like. Um, let's cook, man. As you see, we're gonna get to White Girl Wednesday, right? You see Michaela, she's fighting. I think she's good. She's good. But we'll do the whole smash or pass tomorrow. Today I'm just gonna cook real quick. Boxing is try for exactly, man. So I'm gonna drop the link, but I'm gonna cook a little bit. Thank you guys. Salute Jack Ripper. Salute Du Matador. So you know what, man? I mean, look, man, Frank Bay, I do things a little bit different. I like to have that boxing conversation. The drama's cool, the fucked up shit is cool, but I like to get to the conversation. And that's what I'm gonna thank you, Mars Boxeo. Yeah, salute. Hit the like, brothers. Hit that cash app one time if you want to help the channel grow, and we can do some big things out here. But ultimately what it's about is talking boxing. If you like the conversation, and it's cool to like troll and talk shit, but after a while, to me, it gets boring and tiresome. I want to actually talk about how we talk about boxing, right? So if you're wondering the pillars of boxing, right, and how you're affected, and what that the concentration is, and I have an analytical mind. I'm always trying to analyze things, and sometimes it takes me a while to figure things out. Call it what you will, right? but I'm very analytical. Like I need to be able to break things down, assemble and put them back together, and I understand physically and mentally and conceptually how they work, right? So as you know, pillars in relation to the building of a pyramid, so to speak, right? And it got me to thinking, and I came up with a schematic, a scheme, and I said, there's really 4 5 pillars of boxing, right? So I'm gonna break it down for you, because when I have these boxing conversations, what I find happens when I talk to other fans, right, is we get in this kind of like argument, this beef, right, where there has to be a winner, there has to be a right way to look at the sport, right? And as you know, this is a global sport. This is not football. This is not basketball, and it's mano y mano. That's why I love it, right? The competitor, man versus man. Pause, right? No Diddy. And that's what we love. It's a combat sport. It's very hard to break down a fight. It's very hard to predict because it's ultimately a fight. Nobody predicted Ryan Garcia upsetting Haney, and nobody predicted what we just seen, the boy sleeping AJ, right? People, especially in the sport of boxing, they think with their feelings, right? It's very emotional because you become attached to a fighter, to a promotional company, to your channel, to your group, things of that nature. And so with Frank Bay, the conversation came up about are we buying Tank Davis's fight? We know he's fighting subpar competition in Lamont Roach, and as I'm talking, people get emotional, and the Tank Davis supporters, they're like, how, if you bought Berlanga Canelo, then you should buy Tank Davis and Lamont Roach, and ultimately I said, when it comes to buying fights, I think I try to be smart, and that's what I'm saying. When we talk about boxing, it tends to become people talking absolutes, right? It's very narrow-minded, very lack of critical thinking, right? Because we're fans. I mean, it's boxing. It's not an intellectual pursuit, but what I'm trying to do is open up the conversation and find the nuances in boxing. You know what I mean? A lot of those things, people are like, what does that even mean, bro? What are you talking about? We just want to talk boxing. I go, yeah, but when you talk boxing, there's pillars of boxing, right? There's different aspects, right? And they all stand upon one group, right? When you look at a pyramid, right? and people think of a pyramid scheme, right? There's always somebody at the top. There's always a puppet master, and at the bottom is the workers. And right now, at the bottom is us, the fans, right? We are the people that uphold the pyramid, right? We're building it. We are constructing it, right? We are the pillars which support the sport that we love, right? But what do we constantly hear? We constantly hear that, oh, you're just a fan. You don't know boxing. One of the most insulting things that I've ever heard is, oh, you're just a fan. Right? You hear people talk about their insiders. And it's always comical because it's like, look, man, unless you're at the PBC, unless you're at Matchroom, and you claim to be an insider, I find it kind of comical, right? Like me, I can claim I'm an insider if I manage one fighter, right? And he's 0-1 getting knocked out. Oh, I'm an insider. I'm in the sport. And I'm telling you, I've worked in the sport. I've worked with professional fighters, right? But I never claimed to be an insider. You know what I mean? I never negotiated a contract. We always talk about these contracts and network deals. And look, the truth of the matter is that nobody knows. We argue about things. Salute so passive. Yeah, man, hit the like, hit the like. We argue about things that ultimately we're clueless about, right? And we rarely hear fighters get on the mic and tell us the inner workings of like how contracts work, how network deals work. Like Munguia is now fighting, is on Top Rank. Oscar claims that he still has Munguia. So those are the pillars at work, right? When I talk about pillars, one of the pillars of the sport is the sport of boxing in and of itself, right? When we talk about belts, when we talk about rankings, when we talk about these actual factuals, right? Like we're talking about weight division champions, right? That's one of the pillars. So we have the sport of boxing as a pillar. And you can talk about boxing as purely a sport, but you run into a problem because it's much more than just belts and rankings, right? We know that you can buy a lot of those things. No, look, man, any of that is a no because I'm the wrench, bro. I'm the final judge and jury and say, right? So, when we talk about the sport of boxing, we can say who the best is, right? Like Canelo Alvarez is the best. He's undisputed. Terrence Crawford had a claim for being the best at 147. But then it gets tricky, right? Because, Canelo Alvarez has David Benavidez problems, right? But it's like, no, he's still the best. But if he doesn't fight Benavidez, can he really hold claim to being the best, right? Terrence Crawford, same thing. Terrence Crawford, he was the best at 147, and here comes along his biggest threat, Jaron Ennis, and he didn't want no Jaron Ennis problems, right? Didn't make dollars, didn't make sense, which leads us to so much more. So you can see where this train of thought, and I'm trying to, when you listen to me, this is how I look at it, and I break down the sport of boxing, right? We talk about who's the best, why they're the best. It's a big argument because we have other pillars to consider. We got to talk about the politics. When we talk about the politics of boxing, what are we talking about? We're talking about the belt organizations, right? Certain organizations are beholden to certain promoters, right? I think Bob Arum has a really sweet deal with the WBO. I think Al Haymon and the PBC, they work very, very close and dear to Suleiman and the WBC, right? So now are we talking about a sport anymore? Or are we talking about a political endeavor, right? Politics masquerading as a sport. So we talk about boxing, it opens up the politics, right? We talk about belts and orgs and networks, and we know how many fights have not been able to be made because they're with different networks, right? And the guy gets a belt, like we just seen with Norman Jr. and Jaron Ennis. They don't want to give up that belt. That belt means a lot. It means another pay scale, and people want to argue over that. And it's like, well, you have to talk about the politics of it and what makes sense. Chile, salute my dons, yes, right? Then after when we get to the belts and networks, well then now we're talking about the business. And what's the business of boxing? We're talking about promoters, right? Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, as you see in the thumbnail, Bob Arum, salute technique. Yeah. We're talking about Bob Arum, right? And he's a dinosaur. He's been around the sport forever. We have, as you see in the thumbnail, the new player in the game, Turki Al-Sheikh, right? came in the boxing game, a new face pretty much this year. We've seen him lurking, and now he comes in with an iron fist and a velvet glove and seems to be wanting to take over the sport, right? So we have sports, politics, and the business, right? That's three pillars. Now we're talking about a fourth pillar, right? The fourth pillar, as you see in the thumbnail, right? The fighters, the players in the game, right? So you have the ideal, right? You have the sport, the politics, the business, and a lot of those are just purely ideas. They're not anything tangible that you could put your face, your thumb on, but you can talk about the players. Those are the people that are actually in playing the sport of boxing. As you see, Eddie Hearn, well, he's on the business side, right? Promoters are on the business side. Fighters, trainers, managers. Now they are the players. They are the ones fighting, right? Fighting for the check, but also they're managing their careers. And fighters have teams. Floyd Mayweather always talked about a team. Having Leonard Ellerbe, Canelo has a team. Him and Eddie Reynoso, right? Then he moves into the promoter side. So you have fighters that need to play the game and manage their careers within the sport, the politics, and the business. And we always heard Floyd Mayweather mention these things, right? It has to make sense. Manny Pacquiao would always say, I'll see what my promoter wants, right? And then supporting it all, the fifth side that nobody talks about, right, is the fans. On the bottom, we're always the last to get a say, is the fans. Right, the fans who actually support the sport, we're the last ones to ever get a say. And that's one thing I noticed. I said, when we talk boxing, fans talk boxing. Number one, it's a lot of tribalism. That's what I noticed. It's the tribalism, right? You have the Latino fan base, the Mexican fan base, the African American fan base. You have race, fans of race, and then fans of nationality. You have they're fans of Americans. They're fans of Eastern European fighters, the Triple Gs, the Lomas. Who else? Now you have the Japanese. There's fans of Junto Nakatani, the Monster Inui, right? You have all those factions that are pretty much new to the sport, and then now you have the new paradigm, right? Social media. So social media has come in and made a play for our attention. So now, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Instagram, especially this YouTube, and I see people in the chat, salute, good evening, Haciendo Manuela, thank you, hit the like. This is the conversation, but it always comes to absolutes. It's like people ride for PBC. We have arguments about PBC, are they good or bad for boxing? Now we have Turki Ali as a pillar. Is he good or bad for boxing? Right? We have those conversations. And I want to know what you guys think. How do you, when you talk boxing, do you come from a purely I'm just a fan. I don't care about the politics. I don't care about we always hear that. One of the big things they say, why do you talk about pay-per-view numbers? Why do you talk about who sells more tickets? I said, because that's the sport of boxing. When you talk about it, you have to understand, the conversation was around Tank Davis, right? And one of the points I made, and someone, they kind of, to me, they didn't understand what I was saying. I said, look, Tank Davis can do what he wants to do. And this is the perfect example of how everything works in unison, right? Everything works symbiotically and works together. So I said, look, Tank Davis, I don't like it as a fan. I say, I'm not buying the pay-per-view. His fans will buy it. He'll sell out the arena, right? He'll do good numbers for what he does. He'll make a nice, bank account, right? Like people were mad about Canelo Alvarez, right? Remember, we just heard it. They were mad. How dare Canelo make money? How dare he take 35 million? How dare he sell 650,000 pay-per-views? How dare he get a $17 million get against a subpar opponent? And it's like, well, he doesn't give a fuck. I said that before. He doesn't give a fuck. So why would I get on here and argue and be upset? And it's the same thing with Tank Davis. I can't be upset about it. I can't hate it. I can't cry. I can't do a 10-hour stream about how upset I am with Tank Davis. I understand all the aspects of boxing, right? So the point I made, I said, look, Tank Davis, he can do what he wants. He had a very successful pay-per-view with Ryan Garcia, right? He is one of the faces of boxing. He's a lowercase face, right? Mars Boxeo, facts. The FBAs act like the only person entitled to getting that bag, man. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying when we have these conversations. If you want to win the debate, win the argument, right? Now, I don't argue. I'm not going to get in a scream match and talk about pull up, but I am going to explain things the best I can. And when I said Tank Davis can do what he wants, people had a problem with it. Oh, he can't do what he wants. He's a baby belt champion. I said, look, it doesn't matter. You're talking about the sport, Salute Impala. You're talking about the sport of boxing. We're talking about the business and the politics of it. We always have to understand where we're at and what we're dealing with when we talk about the sport that we love, right? I mean, you're here because you love the sport of boxing like I do. And it will always upset you. It always piss you off, right? But if you're being honest, right? If you're being objective, and that's one thing I always said. I said, look, I don't pretend to be objective. I don't pretend to be unbiased. I just give you what I think in my opinion. But what I can do, I can look at things from every conceivable angle and then make up my mind. So I can say, hey, Tank Davis, he can do what the fuck he wants. If he wants to fight Lamont Roach and they're willing to pay him, then why have a problem with it? I'm just not going to buy the fight. But what I'm not going to do is trash it because I get it. I said, look, he can do what he wants. And somebody spoke up, and it's actually, I agree. Yes, with the person that had a problem with what I said, I agree. I said, look, I agree with what you're saying. He shouldn't be able to do it, but he can because he had a successful pay-per-view with Ryan Garcia. And now he's in a position like Canelo Alvarez where he can pick and choose his opponents. Same with Floyd Mayweather. Terrence Crawford, he believes that he can pick and choose opponents now. He said it. Inouye, Monster Inouye, that's why they're the pillars. They can pick and choose their opponents. I said, but I understand, and this is where I get to the sport of boxing. I said, but I will say I don't rank him high. I don't put him like cucks we see in the top 5 pound for pound as they're trying to do. I'm not going to let the cuck media or his groupies convince me that he's a top 5 pound for pound fighter as they're trying to do and convince me that he's not cherry picking. What I will say is, yes, he's earned the right to pick and choose his opponents. 18th Street, never listen to FBA's members and anything there. Exactly. I'm here to expose that. And again, and that's why we talk boxing, because we're when you're thinking something and then you come to Frank Bay and you hear Frank Bay say it, that's called confirmation. You're like, damn, I was thinking that. Well, why the fuck is this happening? And then somebody says something or you hear something or see something and you go, you know what, motherfucker, I knew I was right. So but look, when it comes to the sport of boxing, Tank Davis has not earned the right to do what he wants to do. And then everybody was like, oh, okay, I know what you're saying. I said, look, you cannot talk about boxing in absolutes because of how fractured the sport is, right? Wrench me? Nah, bro. No, again, for the last time, there will be no wrenches. I am the wrench. I am the judge and jury here. I'm the police, the judge, and the jury. You feel me? Culo, Canelo is the face. Absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. And hey, Chingo, are you, Torta? You know what? Damn, man, this was an impromptu live, but I will. Maybe I'll do a post. I'll put a post up, and you guys can like it. I didn't have the time today. So I just wanted to come on and get this idea out. Cut this channel. Exactly. Thank you, 18th Street. Canelo has earned the right to do what he wants. See, that's the difference. In the business side, yes, Tank Davis, he can do what the fuck he wants it. And you can kiss his, his black ass, as they say. And Canelo, that's what he says, right? You can kiss my brown ass. Inouye, you can kiss my yellow ass, right? Pause. Bob Arum, you can kiss my white ass, and circa via where they go. Loma said it to Tank. You can kiss my, Eastern European ass. I'm not gonna sell my ass to you, right? So Canelo Alvarez has earned the right on all pillars. Okay, well, you know what, man? If you hop on and I can see the account that you are, then I'll know for sure. I've always told you that. But salute, man. Don't worry about it. They always go away. It's all good. Um, no Diddy. Yeah, exactly. They want Canelo to take a couple losses in his career like Chavez, and that's their plan. Yeah, they are trying to salute Alfredo. Exactly. Exactly. We know what time it is. And that's the politics of the sport, right? They've always wanted the next Floyd Mayweather. And they've tried their hardest to prop up the next Floyd Mayweather, and it hasn't worked. They don't have the talent, and they don't have the pedigree. He had all the pillars working for him. He had the sport, the politics, the business, and he had a good team. Same with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez has had he covers all the bases, right? He understands the sport, right? He understands winning belts, winning weight divisions, undisputed, right? He understands the politics, right? How they stripped him. He said, you know what, fuck it, let them strip me. Canelo Alvarez understands the politics. And on the business, Canelo Alvarez goes to Matchroom, he goes to PBC, he understands the business. And the players, the trainers, salute, Bones. Yes, I'm gonna open up the conversation. But I just wanted to elaborate on the pillars of boxing, and how when we talk boxing, we have to include all these things. It's not purely a sport. There are politics. We do have to talk about the business. We do have to talk about the fighters and how they move within the sport and the politics. And again, Tank Davis within the sport has not earned the right to pick who he wants. Now on the business side, yes, his numbers undeniable. $1 million, they said, against Ryan Garcia. He was successful. 300,000 versus Frank Martin, had Benavidez on the undercard, right? So he has earned the right to do what he wants, but from the sporting perspective, he hasn't. Canelo Alvarez has. From a sporting perspective, I believe you could say Terrence Crawford has earned the right to do what he wants. But when you look at from a business perspective, he hasn't. He hasn't put up the numbers. His last pay-per-view flopped. So how is Terrence Crawford ever in a position to demand Canelo Alvarez do anything? Salute Isaac Bermudez. Thank you. Welcome. Yes, hit the like, everybody. Terrence Crawford is delusional. This man has no idea or understands boxing in the least sense. Not one iota. He thinks because he has a sugar daddy, he can tell Canelo Alvarez what to do. There's no way in HE double hockey sticks that he can do that. That shows a lack of understanding. Same with David Benavidez. David Benavidez has made major mistakes within the politics, right? Not executing his mandatory, right? The business, fighting on Tank Davis undercards, flopping on his own undercards, right? In the sport, David Benavidez failed to unify against Caleb Plant, failed to unify against other champs, and he could have forced a Canelo Alvarez fight. Yeah, exactly. They have failed at the sport of boxing, right? When it comes to the sport. Now, politically, and social media with the fans, politically, Crawford has angled himself, right? And business-wise, he's angled himself with Turki Ali to put himself in a position to make it seem that he's deserving. But in actuality, he's not. When you talk about stars who can do what they want, Inoue pretty much has that in the bag. If you don't see AJ, if you don't see Alexander Usyk or Tyson Fury, because they haven't done what Canelo Alvarez does. They're over there in the UK. Their AJ's pay-per-view was $20. He's losing. We can't even really talk about him. Hate Canelo Alvarez, all you want, but he's still one of the best, just like Tank Davis, just like Monster Inoue, and just like Terrence Crawford. But Terrence Crawford is inactive. That's one thing I just can't fathom. When we talk about the sport of boxing, Terrence Crawford sits on the sidelines 1 year at a time. How can we hail this guy as the best if he only fights once a year, maybe once every 2 years? when he meets a challenge, they say, hey, we got this guy, we got Virgil Ortiz, Fedor, Tim Tszyu. He's home. He doesn't say a word. Look, when it comes to the sport of boxing, belts and rankings, all those things matter. But what matters most ultimately is the fans' perspective. Tank gonna do 50K pay-per-views for his next fight, and he's the face of boxing. Well, you know what? He's getting paid a decent sum of money, to do what he does. So I understand. But when it comes to the sport of boxing, Tank Davis has not done anything. Bud has a fabricated career. Yeah, that's one thing we talk about. He has the accolades. I mean, he is two-time undisputed, but as far as the names on his resume, as far as having, like Canelo, the names that he has, even in losses, pales in comparison. One of the stats they have is ex-champions, a weight division conquered, now a lot of those, when we talk about the sport, a lot of those are fugazi. Everything that glitters ain't gold. One person who has done that is the Monster Inoue, right? Monster Inoue has come in and took over the sport. Well, while stateside we don't recognize him as such, but within the sport of boxing, as far as hardcores go, he's up there with Canelo Alvarez as far as the sport, the politics, the business, and with the fans. He's got a fan base now, especially where he is. He's a mega superstar. So, and then we talk about the promoters, right? Matchroom, Top Rank, Turkey Ali. Promoters are always trying to come in the game, and but you need stars. Oscar De La Hoya. I didn't put Oscar up there because Oscar's kind of Oscar's very iffy, right? We don't know what he's doing or what he's up to. But right now the big players are Matchroom and Ahern, right? He has Boots Ennis, he has Shakir Twitterson, he has AJ. Turkey Ali has Bud Crawford, trying to put his foot in. And Canelo, he's with the PBC Al Heyman, and we've never seen Al Heyman. So, there's rumors of an Al Heyman, but we don't really have any substantial confirmation, right? And knew he got loaded gloves, I believe. You think he has loaded gloves? I don't know. But yeah. When it comes to the sport of boxing, man, when it comes to the sport and talking about the sport of boxing, we really gotta pick it apart from each side. Now I remember when Donaire fought the Monster Inoue, they said that that they didn't like how he wrapped his hand. I think Stephen Fulton had a problem that, there was a rumor that he stacked his gloves or something like that. Right. But the most important thing is when it comes to the sport of boxing is you guys, the fans. Right? Don't let anybody ever dismiss that, right? Dismiss the fans. They, everybody shits on the fans. Oh, you're just a fan. You don't know. The fighters talk shit to the fans, right? Shakir is talking shit, but Crawford was talking shit to Showbiz the adult. These guys, they're divas. They want to tell you don't know what you're watching. You don't get it. Now that, well, I get it. I mean, it's just two guys fighting. If we really think about it. They talk about the sweet science and this and that. It's like, look, it's just two guys fighting. It's not that hard to figure out and understand. When you watch an elite boxer, right, and you see him against a scrub, you go, yeah, that guy's a scrub. There's only a handful of elite talent. Sup, Frank? Sup, Poodle Sud? There's only a handful of elite talent out there. There really is. When you really think about the top fighters and the fighters that you talk about and want to watch, there's only a handful that people really talk about, and I have them on the thumbnail. That better be a Bivol or elite, but you're not really gonna talk about them. You're not really gonna do content or streams or see social media posts, unless there's major upsets, But traditionally, social media wise, you're not gonna see it that much. You know what I'm saying? So, it takes being a smart, savvy fan, right? Royal Ricardo. Boxing fans should be concerned about Turkey Ali trying to buy Ring magazine. Yeah, I did. I did see that. The pillars more like smoke and mirrors. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I agree, Impala. But like I said, when we talk about boxing, you can't talk about it in a knowledgeable manner, right? Like you have to know what promoters are working with, what belt orgs, who they have, who they can butter, how the networks move, and who their fighters are, and how they, play the political sphere, right? How they get their fighter rankings. All that is fair in the game. Night Murph, right? It really is a chessboard, right? Like how Benavides is moving. Benavides had said that his goal is to fight the winner. He's kind of put Canelo on the back burner. He says his goal is to um, become undisputed at 175 versus the winner of Bivol Beterbiev, right? And then he plans to fight Canelo Alvarez at a catchweight when they're both undisputed, right? Because Canelo Alvarez is, and that's the politics, right? Is undisputed, but he got stripped. So we know he's undisputed, but he could be like two-time undisputed, going back and getting his belt, right? So I'm gonna drop the link, like I said, give you guys a few minutes to say what you think about the subject, how you talk about boxing, how you look at boxing. What are your prejudices and biases? What do you like and don't like? And it really comes to light when we have weeks like this, right? We just had a big fight, and then it's a letdown, right? Yeah, smash the likes, man. Smash the likes. So, do you feel like boxing is more of a business? Is it still a sport? Do you prefer one network, one fighter? Are you siding with the home team as far as tribalism? And that's what you see mostly on social media, right? I just got to be honest. I see it very, very tribalistic, right? You have the Latinos, the Mexicans, the African Americans, the Eastern European favors, but that's the sport of boxing. It's because there's no teams, right? You can't root for the Raiders or the 49ers. You're pretty much rooting for Canelo Alvarez in Mexico, right? Or Tank Davis and African Americans, or Nui in Japan, right? And that's how they promote it, right? Puerto Rico versus Mexico. That's how they promoted the fight. So I dropped the link, man. Hit the like, hit the link. If you have anything to comment or say, start the following sugar. Start for sugar. Yeah, I seen it. Didn't the guy he's supposed to face drop the belt or say he's moving up because he doesn't want that smoke? He'll probably get a title very soon. But yeah, man. I'm seeing more that boxing is not a sport, right? It's a business masquerading as a sport. And we just have to understand that. There's like more and more pay-per-views. The zone is more expensive. Turkey Ali said he lowered the pay-per-views, but Canelo Alvarez is still charging 90. Tank Davis is gonna charge 90. So, I don't mind it. I don't really follow any other sport, right? I don't really talk about any other sport. But when we talk about the sport, right, we're talking about the moving aspects, right? The chessboard, the pillars, so to speak, right? We talk about the sport, the belt, who has the belt. There's 4 champions at 135. That's one of the first things when people ask who's the best. It's like, well, when I watch boxing, when I try to talk about boxing, I want to figure out who the best is. It's sad. It's like we never seen Fury, Wilder, or Joshua all fight each other. Now, I mean, I know Fury and Wilder fought, but they should have all fought each other, right? They should all fought each other at one point in time, and now, that just typical boxing, we're gonna get it at the end, right? We're gonna get it when they're pretty much old, faded, and washed. And that's sad, man. And we're probably gonna see that with Tank Davis, Teofimo, Shakira, right? We're gonna see them all fight when they're older and faded. You know what I mean? So it's like sometimes you just gotta shake your head, man. Hopefully, these younger guys like Emiliano, Abba Mason, hopefully, they become champions and they decide to fight each other. And we get trilogies like Manny Pacquiao and Marquez, we get Oscar versus Fernando Vargas, right? We get Oscar versus Trinidad. And, boxing gets back to a place where people are not trying to protect their O. And that was the other political aspect, right? When fighters try to protect their O. Hit the like, guys. Hit the link if you want to talk your shit. But yeah, man. Ultimately the fans, and that's what I wanted to harp on, is the fans. Boxing has lost. At one time, boxing used to be the king of sports. That's crazy that at one time in our history, right, in the history of boxing, it used to be America's number one sport, the biggest sport in the world. Can you believe that? Sergeant, yo, salute. At one time, boxing used to be the biggest sport in all of the land. And that's something that blows my mind when I think about it. When my uncles who introduced me to the sport of boxing, they were fanatical, they loved it, and they all stopped following it because it went behind a paywall. Everything was on pay-per-view, and they were just tired of it. They were like, yo, they remember the time when it was just on free TV. You could just turn it on. Hector Camacho was fighting Sugar Ray Leonard. They remember Sugar Ray Leonard, Hearns, all the old school guys. And then it slowly but surely went to pay-per-view. The best is usually the Lineal Champ, which given by the Ring magazine. That's why Turkey wants to buy Ring. I did hear that. Floyd killed the sport. You know what? I believe he did. That's an opinion. It's not fact. It's an opinion. But I think his talk is protecting the O and having fighters protected and cherry picking and making that the sport, ruin the sport. But I think slowly but surely we're seeing fighters realize that, hey, if you want to gain fans and a fan base, you have to risk it all. You're gonna have to fight the best in your division. Let's make a celebration for Tank November. He should be a 30-year-old prospect. Okay. Let's do it. I'm here for it. But as I said, man, there's four pillars of boxing and the fans support it, right? We are on the bottom and we get treated on the bottom, right? Constantly told we don't know shit about boxing, right? That is such a famous term, right? You don't know shit about boxing. And it's very hard to follow the sport, right? It's very hard to talk boxing. Salute Never Sobers. Yes. Salute. Follow Never Sobers. I don't know if he'll be covering the fights this weekend. They're kind of mid-level fights. I think he's doing the big Michaela Mayer weekend, right? All weekend. 48-hour stream for Michaela Mayer. I think it's on Friday too. Right? But yeah. And it gets slow. So, we're just trying to come up with ideas, talk to the boxing fans, tell me what you think. Have you given up on boxing? Have you stopped buying it? Are you still going to support it, buying the fights? Are you still going to fights if you can? That's another big thing, is going to fights is always exciting. And you can't blame fans, right? That's one thing I'll never do is blame the fans. Mayor thinks she's the white girl from Save the Last Dance. Exactly. These Crips want the young and up and coming Mexican prospects, but they never fight each other. Yeah, Keyshawn's calling out Emiliano Vargas already, saying he'll beat his dad and whole family. It's like, come on, man, you're a clown, bro. Like, you don't even have a name. I really hope he gets slept by Lemos. I think it could happen. I think Lemos might sleep him. Keyshawn's last fight was awful versus Maduro. They were wrestling. It was a wrestle fest. Keyshawn doesn't have the talent that he thinks he does. He's in a mix between wanting to be Terrence Crawford and Shakira. It's like he wants to be all defense, but then he wants to punch people, but he doesn't necessarily have the snapper power. You know what I mean? And I think he's in a very dangerous fight. This weekend, Shushu Carrington is fighting, right? Look, man, I don't want. Look, you can say that for later, bro. I don't appreciate that. If people hop on and they want to promote their channel or places, that's cool because you're showing respect by having a conversation, but doing it like that is not cool in my book. Frank, shouldn't Keyshawn be calling Zepeda his prime and dangerous? Well, you know what, that look, man, that's what I'm saying. We have to talk about the sport, the business, and the politics. You know that they all want Lomachenko, right? Because he's the biggest name. They could probably make the most money, and he's the most vulnerable. It's like I see on social media, everybody's calling out a plant, is calling out Berlanga. Everybody wants Berlanga now, right? Um, who is it? Munguia wants Berlanga. Plant wants Berlanga. You're gonna see all these fighters target Berlanga because they feel he's the weakest link, right? He has a name, he has a fan base, and he's the most beatable, right? Now, Plant Munguia, they're saying he should fight Billy, but using when I talk about boxing, putting my manager cap on, I say, nah, man, I think the Munguia that'd be selling his ass. Don't let Billy use you to get a Canelo fight. Use Berlanga to put yourself on top. You know, get paid, beat Berlanga, and become another Mexican superstar. If Munguia beat Berlanga, which he'd probably be the favorite, he'd become another like Mexican superstar. You know, he beat Berlanga and he could possibly earn another Canelo shot one day. I doubt it. I doubt it. People think, and Berlanga's talking about a Canelo rematch, but you know that's a fantasy land. That wouldn't even be interesting. But Berlanga versus Pacheco, I want to see Pacheco step up. He will, but they have to be very careful. You don't want to get him beat yet. Munguia staying active, fighting in December versus Gabriel. I've seen that. People are trashing it, but it's a stay busy fight, man. We have to remember what boxing is. It's a business, man. Boxing is a business. These promoters, man, they put a lot of effort into building these fighters, and you know you can't blame them for protecting their asset. That's something that we will. Well, you know, Pacheco sleeps Berlanga. Yeah. I think he beats Berlanga. But Berlanga's dangerous. Don't get it twisted. He's a dangerous fighter. I think we all underestimate Berlanga. He could easily beat Munguia. He could easily beat Caleb Plant. But those are all good fights. But you know, the truest test is they all want to get Canelo Alvarez payday again, you know. But at least we're getting the fights, and that's one thing Canelo Alvarez has done for the sport, right? He's made all these guys names, and now they can go make some money. You know, ultimately in the sport, what you want to do in order to become popular in the sport, you need to beat a name, and then that's how you get a name yourself, right? So Pacheco needs a name under his belt, right? Like Munguia had to go through Ryder, he had to go through Derevyanchenko to get his shot, right? To build his profile. And that was one of the knocks about David Benavidez, is like he's moving up to 168 and he's fighting a guy that was retired for like 3 years, right? And then he's rumored to fight Jesse Hart. So he's not really building his profile. What it is a business move. He's protecting his Canelo payday, right? Because a loss, if Benavidez stepped up and fought like the guy who just fought Buatsi, or Anthony Yard, who we know is a name, or even I think it's Callum Smith, one of the big 175 guys that are talented, and he loses, his career's done, right? What, like, we have to think about it in all aspects when we think about fighters and the fights that they make, and that's what I use to make my predictions. Poodle Sue, Carrington got an interesting fight versus the dude. Exactly, Sagawa. Yes, that's why I'm interested in it. I'm not. Look, man, I'm not high on Shushu. I'm not. I'm just not. I don't know. There's just something. I haven't seen his chin tested, and I haven't seen him bang it out. I don't know if he's just way more talented the guys that he's facing, or he hasn't faced anybody talented. What is he going to beat up a Pedraza like Keyshawn did? Like, that was supposed to be Keyshawn's step up as Pedraza? Like, come on. Pacheco knocked out the guy that knocked down Berlanga. Yeah. But you know what? He didn't do it explosively. I know what you're talking about, but look, man, let's pump the brakes on Pacheco. He needs to build himself. I know we want to rush him, but the worst thing you can do is rush somebody. Shame on Haney for the Chile. Isaac, especially Munguia, justifying that. Well, we don't know the truth. We don't know. That was the rumors. Maybe they stopped because it's getting such bad press. Like, we don't know. But you know, we just have to think about it in a logical sense, right? Using the pillars, right? Looking at it from a So what is Jesse Hart for Benavides, right? Well, he's fighting on an undercard, so he's not gonna have a big fight. You know, the way they look at it, if it's in the main event, then you get the Caleb Plant and Andrade, right? For Benavides. If he had to headline his own show, well then they'll probably have to put on a more quality opponent because they have to sell the show, right? That's the business, right? And also sporting, right? Because the fans are like, no, if we're gonna pay, you need to put on a top guy. But if he's like, look, I'm just fighting on Tank Davis undercard. It's just a stay busy fight. Just keeping my name out there. You know, he's not getting top dollar for Hart if it's true, and he's just basically it's a stay busy fight. But it's on pay per view, right? He's there to support Tank Davis. Poodle Suit, I like Chushu, but not even a contender yet. Well, he's already calling out a Nui, but obviously, you know, he's a bigger guy calling out the smaller guy. Now I don't know if that's him or his management or Top Rank telling him to do that, so he can build his profile. But it does. You need to become a champion at your weight class before you start calling out names, in my opinion. When it comes to the sport of boxing, Isaac Bermudez, 3 options for Benavides since we know he ain't gonna fight Better Beav or Bivol. Yard, Zuru, Morel, those that make sense. Yeah, but for the money is not gonna make sense. Morel and Benavides doesn't sell right now. Morel needs to build his profile. Look, man, when we talk about the sport of boxing, we gotta look at it from those aspects, you know. But look, it's Benavides' own fault. When we talk about the pillars of boxing, right? He's mismanaged every aspect: the sport, losing his belts; the politics, right? Losing his belts, right? Not activating his mandatory. So you just go on and on. Come on. Hit the like. But you know, these realities are inescapable. And ultimately the fans decide, right? We decide who gets hype and who doesn't, right? Who we crown as the best, who we crown with our dollar buying their pay-per-view, who we crown with ticket sales. The fans ultimately decide who's on top, you know. And it's always interesting because we have the factions, we battle it out on social media, we argue about Canelo pay-per-view numbers, you know. That's what's crazy is that, you know, these numbers are out and you have people that trash it. You have people literally hating on Canelo Alvarez's good numbers. Canelo Alvarez did good numbers. And you have the pillar, the bottom, right? The foundation are criticizing it. Which is wild to me, right? Now, if we criticize Tank Davis numbers, it's because Canelo has earned it, right? Within the sport of boxing, being undisputed, he's earned it. Whereas Tank Davis, I can't be critical because he's selling a fight that he hasn't earned. And Inui's a different. Inui doesn't even come on our radar. He fights in Japan and they pay him, but over here we pay Canelo Alvarez, we pay Tank Davis, and we pay Terrence Crawford. Well, Terrence has a sugar daddy, right? But ultimately, when you look at it from, you know, lower right hand corner, Eddie Hearn, and you look at lower left hand, Bob Arum, they make business decisions all the time too. You know, Bob Arum made a business decision, right? He said, you know what, I don't need Shakira Twitterson problems. You know, we just seen Eddie Hearn chew out Davina Hanke at the fight. He said, look, the guy's an arrogant prick. He wasn't kissing his ass. And that's Davina Hanke, another failure in the pillars of boxing. Failure at the sport, right? Beat George Kambosos, thought he was on top of the world, gets knocked out by a C-level fighter, right? Politics. He gives up his belt that they let him keep after a loss because he didn't want to take short money versus Sandor Martin, and now he has nothing. When it comes to business, promoters, he thought Eddie Hearn still had his back. Eddie Hearn's like, look, you're not my fighter. Devin Haney wanted to play the game where he could be a free agent and negotiate his own fights, right? Kind of a deal, right? Okay, I signed with the promoter. I'm giving up a little freedom, but I know I have protection. Like Boots Ennis, right? Boots Ennis is protected. Eddie Hearn has his back. He's trying to sell us a Karen Kardashian fight. You know, Boxing Scene released an article today criticizing it. Say, how dare DAZN abuse? Now we're talking about the business, right? Promoters and networks. How dare DAZN rip us off? How are they really trying to justify a Karen Kardashian matchup? Well, you know what they did, right? The politics. Eddie Hearn, the slickster that he is, says, you know what, I'm gonna put Bam Rodriguez, using a Mexican to sell a fight again, right? Just like they do with David Benavidez. And these guys don't get it. They're being used, they're being played, right? So, Devin Haney, he's a man without a man without a, I forgot what it is, but he doesn't have any backing, and he thought Eddie Hearn was supposed to kiss his ass. Like, you're not my fighter. You don't want to sign. ESPN can make money. Mars. ESPN can make money putting Munguia, Espinoza, Navarrete, Emiliano, Torres all on one card. Yeah. And Turkey Ali's doing that with Golden Boy, right? He's putting Zurdo, Zepeda, Barbosa versus Ramirez. So Turkey's doing it with Oscar. They know where the fan base is at, when the money's at, right? They know. Turkey's seen that Terrence Crawford flopped. He's seen Shakira pull out. Turkey is getting a taste of the American market and how they move. You see what I'm saying? So, I would have put Ryan Garcia up as a pillar, but Ryan is really a universe unto himself. Ryan does whatever the fuck he wants. He doesn't need boxing. That's what's interesting about Ryan Garcia, is he's probably the only boxer right now that doesn't need boxing. Ryan Garcia is rich already, and he can go be even richer without boxing. But these guys like Terrence Crawford, Stank Davis, they need boxing. We wouldn't even be hearing about Terrence Crawford if he didn't have Turkey Sugar Daddy. Canelo Alvarez is probably the last boxer we will see that has earned the right with 70 fights, undisputed, to do what he wants. And then we got guys like Tank Davis that will try to convince you that they can do what they want. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like. But we're not fooled by it, So that's what I wanted to do today, man. I wanted to talk about the the conversations that we have, man. I know it, hopefully it was interesting. Hopefully it enlightened some things. Salute Julio, Eric Gomez, hopefully, we get a better understanding. And when you come on, hit the link, hit the like, and we talk some boxing. We could break it down. We could talk about all the things that go into the sport, and the shit we like and we don't like. We don't like when the IBF strips Canelo, right? We don't like when Tank Davis is fighting a 130 pounder, and it's on pay-per-view. Now we do like Better Be of Bivol. Let's hope it happens, right? But we don't like that it's on pay-per-view. Well, the undercard is on pay-per-view. So, the fans are constantly being abused. The fans, but ultimately we decide. I'm telling you, man. I think ultimately we decide. When you hear that he's fighting Lamont, that Tank Davis fighting Lamont Roach, that Canelo Alvarez might be fighting Japan, they're doing these things to see the reaction, to see like, okay, what do the fans think? Are they in support of Terrence Crawford and Canelo? Are they in support of Monster Inoue coming to the U.S.? These promoters, man, Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, they look at social media. They listen to, I'm convinced they listen to channels, there's bigger channels, you guys listen to places like Showbiz and The Boxing Voice and things like that. And so, from time to time I do, but I find it to be too propagandish, if you guys follow me. And a lot of the talk is just, I don't know, run of the mill. Me, I prefer a more smaller environment, right? Like something like my show with you guys. You guys get a voice. You guys, we have a conversation. In a lot of places, you don't get to have the conversation. You don't get to say what you think, because if you say what you think, you're criticized and you're told you don't know shit about boxing, right? You don't know the sport. You don't know the politics. You don't know the business. You don't know the managers and trainers, right? And you're just a fan. And you're just a fan of Canelo or things like that. And it's like, no, bro, like I get how the belts work, how the rankings work. I read magazine. I'll listen to the Zone broadcast, but a lot of it is like cookie cutter. You kind of got to dig for the information that you want. You know what I mean? So, but that's going to be it for today's show. I just, I had the idea, wanted to break it down, see what you guys think. Hit the like on your way out. Hit that Cash App if you want to support the show. Everything goes back in. Salute a mug. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Not a long show. Frank Bay has some business to handle. I know, man. You're always coming late, brother. Um, I'm gonna try to go on again. I'm gonna I'm going to break this down further. Probably a video we can get more into it. But I just wanted to flesh this out, man. Sketch it out, see what you guys think, see what sticks, what works, what doesn't work. If you guys agree, always leave comments, man. Share if you can. And we're just gonna continue to grow, man. Continue to have the conversation. And yeah, man. When I dropped the link, if you guys want to, I don't, it's usually spur of the moment. Like today is a short one because I literally have to go. But I always appreciate it, man. Like, subscribe, comment, share. We'll get back to Baddie of the Day, do the fun stuff. This was more just a conversation, man. See what you guys think, and I always appreciate it. But that's it, man. I'm gonna wrap it up, and we're gonna get out of here quickly, shortly, quickly, nice and tight. That's how I like it, right? So we out, man. Salute. Get the shots out, and then we get the fuck out of here. Mars, Isaac, Eric, Alonzo, Amok, Simpin. I'm Batman. Cuck, Nawakulo. Who else? Hawker. Hawker is always a real one. 18th Street, Puro Sur, always in the building, always showing love, man. And that's it. We out.